Welcome back. 2020 Vision, the Trump administration announcing support for a ruling from a Texas judge that could void the entire Affordable Care Act. The case could head to the Supreme Court now, health care becoming a key factor in the 2020 election. Let's get into it with former senior advisor to President George W. Bush and Fox News contributor Karl Rove. Karl, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Good morning.
So will this be the final death knell for Obamacare?
Well, we don't know about how the case is going to turn out. This is a federal district court judge in Texas. It's now going to have to go to the Fifth Circuit. It will then end up probably going to the Supreme Court, and that process could take a long time. But it does mean that Obamacare is back into the 2020 dialogue, and health care, according to the president, is going to become the Republican issue, not a Democratic issue, and that means the Republicans better have a plan and better be able to move forward on it, at least in the Senate.
Do they have a plan?
Well, I assume that the White House has a plan. Otherwise, the president wouldn't be going out there saying, you know, watch me. We're going to make the Republican Party the party of health care.
Right.
But I do know on the Hill that there's not, you know, they don't want to jump back into the Obamacare fight. They've been burned too many times on that. There are a lot of good ideas floating around the Senate, particularly those that emanate from the two docs in the Senate, Dr. Cassidy of Louisiana and Dr. Barrasso of Wyoming. But health care is always a thorny issue. The Republicans do need to have a policy on it. They do need to be proposing things that make a real difference in people's lives. But it doesn't strike me that they're well prepared right now.
So, Karl, question for you. So you've worked in both state and federal government, and we've seen the Affordable Care Act now exist for about 10 years, close to 9 or 10 years. Now, I mean, a lot of states have written the Affordable Care Act into their laws. So how will the Republicans create a plan that will sort of deal with the fact that states have already adjusted to the Affordable Care Act going into the 2020 election?
Well, first of all, let's be careful about overstating the Affordable Care Act. 7% of the people who have health care insurance in America get it through the exchanges. So the rest of America, 93% of the people who get health care with insurance get it through some other memechanism. So,
but the Affordable Care Act has affected everybody's health insurance, whether you like it or not.
But fine. I was just about ready to say that if you didn't interrupt me. So let me finish. Now, the Affordable Care Act has had a deleterious effect on the rest of health care, primarily because the Affordable Care Act causes younger people to pay more for what they get in the way of health insurance in order to subsidize those that are basically over the age of 55. Those between 55 and joining Medicare.
Yeah.
So it's distorted. It's a thing called bands. Typically, private insurance has 5 bands because the cost for health insurance, the health care costs of younger people are about 1/5 that of older people. But the Affordable Care Act has 3 bands, which means that the Affordable Care Act has never had the share of young people that it was expected to have by the Obama administration. And as a result, that's why premiums keep going up, because the insurers under the Affordable Care Act have to take into account that they got a lot fewer younger people and a bigger share of older people. So this distortion is not healthy for our system long term. Actuarial soundness is based upon the experience for years of people getting their insurance and knowing what those costs really reflect in terms of the age.
Karl, real quick on the Mueller report, no collusion. Any follow-through from your standpoint? I mean, the Dems are still fighting with the president.
Well, this is going to be a huge problem for the Dems. They're going to overreach on this. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. When you got Adam Schiff coming out today saying, no, absolutely, I have evidence of collusion, this is going to go on, and it's a big mistake for the Democrats. But between Schiff and Nadler and Maxine Waters and Tlaib and all the loudmouths, the Democrats are going to make a mistake like the Republicans did in 1998 of overreaching on this issue.
All right, we will leave it there. Karl, great to see you this morning, albeit too briefly, but thank you. Karl Rove.